What's up, players? Welcome to my round 13 tips. Last week, I believe I only got, 4 out of the 7 games? Or however many there even were. I can't even remember, but let's go through them. So I tipped Brisbane against Essendon, got that one right. Collingwood versus the Hawks. Jesus. I thought we would show up a bit, but, I got my tip right at least. I was really 50-50 on Gold Coast, Fremantle, and Fremantle. Oh my god, they are looking good. GWS were worrying me. Really worrying me, down by nearly 5 goals at three-quarter time. Callum Ward, career is probably done given that he has torn his ACL, but he pushed the boys right to the very end and, bloody fair play to him because, they came back and won. Now I can't believe I've tipped Sydney. They've been whacked by 90 points. I wanted to go for a cheeky tip that maybe no one would have got, and then, and it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Melbourne somehow lost to St Kilda. I don't know how that's happened, but it did. And then Geelong were worrying me, also up until three-quarter time. West Coast put up a hell of a fight and did very well, but Geelong did win. So, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 7 right. Pretty disappointing week, if I do say so myself. But anyway, let's get into round 13, and we start off with Hawthorn taking on the Dogs at Marvel Stadium. Well aware the percentage is wrong on this, by the way. The Dogs are meant to be, or the Hawks are meant to be at 37%, not 31, but whatever. We don't stand a chance, and I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here, so, skip to this time for the next game. It will be up on screen, because we've got a lot to talk about from a Hawthorn fan perspective. I do apologise. If you want to listen to the rant, go ahead, but again, if you don't, just skip to the time that's on screen. The Hawks are looking absolutely shocking. I know we've versed 3 very good teams in the last 3 weeks, but we've lost all 3 games, and we have just come off back-to-back worst performances. My tip's the Dogs, by the way. It's not even going to be close. But this team is struggling. The midfield, we aren't controlling any games. People want to put it on the back line, on the small. The small forwards aren't the issue. All right, the forward line's not even the issue, really. Now, yes, we don't have that key forward target that we're able to hit up every single time. We aren't. We don't have that, okay? And we've been looking for that. And it's a bit rough when Kausha and both Kausha and Lewis are out. Obviously, Kausha's just come back from injury. Lewis is still another bit away. Will Day won't return till round 20, which is just not good news for our midfield. But also the ignorance from Sam Mitchell on not changing the midfield whatsoever. You can't look at the 16th ranked midfield in the competition. Take Cam McKenzie, who is probably the 3rd best in that midfield group, out of the team entirely, not bring in a midfielder, and then just hope it will just be completely fine. So the midfield's one issue. Yes, we won the clearances, but there's a lot more than winning because when we're winning clearances, we're not actually doing anything efficiently when winning the clearance. It's just battering down, and it just counts as winning the clearance as a stat. But it's cut off 90% of the time because it doesn't favour any of the forwards. And again, a lot of the forwards are getting shit. I mean, the small forwards are literally doing the midfielder's job for them by winning, these bloody stoppage clearances. And then they've also got to try, lock it in their forward half, which we are awful at. We have been failing to lock it into our forward half, and Collingwood just ran through it with ease. And then, they just ran through the middle of the ground, and then boom, inside 50, and then people want to blame the defence. Josh Battle is covering for 4 defenders. Barras is forced to go higher up because of the players coming towards him, and the midfield, slow as shit, can't keep up, and then the small forwards, are playing forward. It's really easy to go through the middle of the ground. That pushes a defender up, and it always leaves a spare man free inside 50. And even playing a spare behind the ball doesn't matter because we aren't putting enough pressure to force teams just to batter it out. We're not applying any pressure at all. Again, it was our 3rd worst pressure factor rating game in our history. They were just handball chaining it very easily through our defensive 50, right through the midfield, and then finding free numbers in their own forward 50. Their transition, Collingwood, was terrific. You can't put anything on the defenders in that situation. And you've got to look at the midfield. The midfield controls the gist of the game, and they aren't putting in the effort. I mean, they laid 32 tackles in an entire game of footy. So yeah, we won the clearance numbers, cool, but didn't win it, and then people want to look at the forwards. They're not getting any good service. How can you expect Chol to be behind, kick it up higher, and then he can body the defender out of the contest. But no, you kick it to the advantage of the defender. Chol has to try extra to at least try spoil it, which he did a lot of times terrifically. But people will just look at how many goals he kicked, saw that he kicked none, and then call for him to get dropped. James Sicily needs to get dropped. As simple as that. I mean, he had 6 or 8 touches, something like that. Absolutely abysmal. Did not find his way into the game whatsoever. Yesterday, was, training, not a lot. So, that's what has been reported. So whether he's taking a rest, whether he does actually have an injury or something, he can't play. He cannot play. Whether he's got an injury or not, he is not playing good enough football as a captain, and he does not have the confidence to boost this team up where we need. And this is coming at the absolute worst time during these tough 5 games, where I said on TikTok that we could possibly lose all 5. People were calling me, people were saying that I don't know anything about footy. Not that I said that we would lose all 5, I just said it's a possibility, and it very well might be. I mean, we've already lost 3 of them, and the next 2 don't get any easier, especially not this one. This one's going to be a tough one, a very tough one, because we're just lucky Sam Darcy isn't back for this game, but Treloar is. There's not a single Hawthorn midfielder that would even slide into the Dogs' VFL midfield if they were to bring one out, because Fraser would start over, Richards would start over. Literally, you can name any. Treloar, Bont, Libba, all of them would start over. English would probably start over Meek. But yeah, so the defence hasn't been entirely an issue. Of course, Tom Barras still isn't the full package we were expecting. People are putting shit on Battle, even though he's covering for 4 people. Scrimshaw's out of form. But I don't know why we're playing 4 talls up in the back line. All of our run there is gone. And then teams are forcing us to hold up play. Well, we're really forcing ourselves to do that. And then we're just generating so much turnover, which the other team always capitalises on. I mean, Collingwood scored 72 points from turnover, or 71 points, something ridiculous like that in our game. And most of that is because of their half-forward pressure. But it's not even that their pressure's good, it's that we're not doing anything off D50. If we don't see anything, we just stay frozen and allow the pressure to come in. And then we either plant a shitty kick, a shitty 15-metre kick that gets knocked off, like the Nick Dacos goal, how that ended, and we're just stuck. There's no move. We need to shorten the back line up, get some run through there, be more confident, take the game back on. And if we don't have any options short, like any leads, go down the line. Go down the line. Even if they do win the ball off, the pack, or they take a contested mark, at least you're defensively set up and the ball has travelled 50 to 60 metres away from where you were originally kicking it from, rather than turning it over in your defensive 50 and gifting the team a goal. Did it against Geelong, have done it several times against the Pies, did it against the Lions. It's just not good enough. And efficiency heading inside 50 needs to be better. Give the forwards better service, because people think they're doing nothing, which isn't true. I mean, Guinea, yes, he had 7 turnovers, but still at 31 touches and 3 goals, was everywhere. The only one genuinely trying to win us the game. And it's just awful. And that ability to lock it in, we were so dangerous, so well set up to lock that ball into our defensive half. Or it's offensive half, sorry. And now we're just failing to do that. Teams are running through us with too much ease, because yes, we play a spare behind ball, but that doesn't do anything when it's 2 talls. You get a 4 foot, you get a Bobby Hill running through that, a Dacos, either Dacos running through that, side bottom, they're all going to just run through that with ease. The big guys aren't going to keep up with them. And we're not applying enough pressure to force teams just to batter it down. So, we can block someone out of a contest, and then our spare can take a mark, and then boom, we head it back inside 50, where, after the stoppage, maybe forwards are a little bit free, and then we get another. So we literally are playing awful football. It's the worst we've watched. Anyway, I'm going the Bulldogs by 5 goals. We will be lucky to get within 5 goals in this game. And it's just abysmal what we are watching right now. And I do apologise for the rant. Anyway, we're nearly 10 minutes in. That is crazy. Anyway, I'm going the Dogs. Adelaide take on Brisbane now. Adelaide are the favourites in this game. And you know why. You should know why. I mean, this team is electric. They've won 4 of their last 5. The only loss being 10 points to Collingwood. Not bad whatsoever. Brisbane are looking really good too. We're shaky against a VFL Essendon side. Smashed Hawthorn. Lost to Melbourne at the Gabba. Drew to North Melbourne. And then the week before that, they barely beat Gold Coast. By 3 goals again at the Gabba in just a scrappy game. So they haven't been playing their best footy, but they do sit second. But man, are Adelaide firing right now. Just whacked Sydney at the SCG, handing Sydney their 3rd biggest loss at the SCG in their history. I'm going to back Adelaide in this one. I think they're just looking extremely scary. I can definitely see this going either way, as the percentages are telling you. But I am really liking what, Adelaide are showing us. And I think they are, going to finish top 4 now. They look incredibly good. They've just got to prove it against a good side. They've got their chance at home against the minor premiers. Give me Adelaide by a goal. The sleep fest of the round. Richmond take on Sydney at the MCG. Richmond are genuinely a sniff in this game. At the G, Noah Bolter will be back. They played terrifically well away from home against GWS without Bolter or Lawler. And Bolter is just a massive name, a massive impact in that back line. And with Sydney's god-awful forward line to a point where the crowd was cheering when they were scoring behinds. It's absolutely crazy. You got to respect the supporters at that point. But, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go Sydney, expect them to bounce back. But yeah, their season is over. I genuinely think the top 8 race is between the current top 9. And I think Hawthorn, Fremantle, or GWS will be the unlucky one to miss. I think you could say the Dogs, but they're just looking too good. But we'll have to see. But yeah, I don't think Essendon are a chance. St Kilda or Melbourne, everyone else has just fallen too far behind. I mean, to get in the 8 right now, it's 7 wins. 11th downwards only has 5 at the moment. Most of them do have a game in hand, to be fair. Essendon do. Carlton also do. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to go Sydney. I'm going to go Sydney by 3 goals. I'm going to play it safe. Although I think you could definitely sniff an upset, but I'm going to play it safe on this one. Game of the round. We've got Geelong at GMHBA taking on Gold Coast. Geelong are the best team in the league. I don't want to hear it. Okay, besides Collingwood, Geelong are the next best team. I mean, mate, they look good. They've won their last 3. They've battered absolutely everyone that they've faced. I believe that loss was at GMHBA to GWS, which is a usual one that happens. But they've beaten Collingwood. They've beaten all the top sides. Smashed Port Adelaide. Beat the Dogs in a close one, but were terrific. And then, comfortably took just 1 quarter to beat off the Eagles. They're looking good. They're scary. At GMHBA, yeah, I'm sorry, Gold Coast, you don't stand a chance. I'm tipping with the percentages here. I think Geelong by 4 goals as they surge into that top 4. They might not lose a game for the rest of the year, if I'm going to be dead honest with you. They're looking amazingly good. Jeremy Cameron leading the Coleman medal. Bailey Smith is the best player in the league. They're just really fun to watch, really good to watch. They're able to score, they're able to defend. They're just amazing. They're incredible for what people, were going to say of them. A lot of people said they weren't going to make top 4. All ridiculous claims. They are the next best team in the league. It doesn't show it on the ladder yet, but I guarantee you it will. I'm going to go Geelong by 4 goals at GMHBA. GWS take on Port Adelaide at Manitou Oval. Or I don't know how to pronounce that, if I'm going to be honest. GWS just seem to never actually play at Angie Stadium. I mean, we're, in round 13, and they've played, 4 games there or something? Or 3? 3 or 4? Well, that's kind of ridiculous. They kind of just play at all of these other ovals that they just seem to call their home. Port Adelaide have the worst form out of any team in the league. Tied with Richmond, they've both lost their last 4, but on percentage, Port Adelaide would be a lot worse. I mean, they got battered by 90 points to the Dogs. They lost in the showdown by just 5 points in fairness, but still, they got battered by 80 to Geelong and then battered by 50 to Fremantle. They're looking like a bottom 4 side. Ken Hinkley will get the sack after this game, as they will fall out of contention, because, once you're 4-8, I mean, you've got to win 13 games at least, so if you've played 12, you've got, 11 games, you'd have to win 9 of your last 11. to even be considered a chance. Maybe even 10 of your last 11. And again, given the games that they have, I mean, they have a scary fixture, Port Adelaide. Yeah, let me actually just whip it up real quick. They have won, and I told Port Adelaide fans this at the start of the season. Your fixture is too difficult. You've lost way too much. You had that good game against the Hawks. They've got Melbourne after this, which Melbourne aren't playing all too awful. They will probably win that. They probably beat Sydney and the Blues, so the next three aren't actually that tough. But then Brisbane at the Gabba. You've got West Coast, so you get a rest game. Hawthorn will beat you in Tassie. Adelaide will beat you again. Then you got Geelong, Fremantle, Carlton, and then Gold Coast. I mean, I could probably name you 6 losses and, what I've just named. So, I don't think Port Adelaide stand a chance in this game. I'm going to go GWS by 6 goals. They're just not looking good. Butters will leave in the off-season as your new coach comes in, and you're basically just playing for draft picks at this point. I mean, you're bottom 4, which is ridiculous considering you finished second last year. And I was being generous having you finish 10th. I thought I was being generous. And people were like, 2nd to 10th, even though they went 2nd to 11th from 2021 to 2022. Anyways, I was completely right about Port Adelaide. So I'm happy about that. I don't even care that they beat us because they're bottom 4. I guess that makes our loss look worse. But yeah, Port Adelaide, no good. Possibly game of the round, wooden spoon battle. West Coast aren't out of it yet. Yet, being the key word. But no, North Melbourne will win this game at Hands Oval. Weird oval. Although West Coast pulled off the craziest comeback the last time these two sides played at this specific oval. This will actually be a decent game to watch. But I feel like with our West Coast, I mean, they're 1-11 right now, with that only win being to, St Kilda. But yeah, North Melbourne, right? How disappointing have they been? No, they've been pretty good. They just haven't been able to win games. So there is slight improvements. They've been way more competitive. Yes, they only have 2 wins and a draw as of right now, but we're only halfway through the season. So if they ended the season with, 4 or 5 wins and a draw, that's pretty good considering they've, not won a lot in recent years. But they're finally being competitive in games. So yes, they've lost 3 of their last 5. They lost to Port at Adelaide Oval by just 9. They lost to Essendon by just 3. And then, losing to Collingwood by 45 is, it's not great, but it's Collingwood, in fairness. And then you beat Richmond and drew to Brisbane. So, the team has not been bad whatsoever. Whereas you look at West Coast, they had that one good win. Other than that, they've kind of been playing other bottom sides. Melbourne, they still got whacked by 32. Richmond beat them. That was definitely their winnable one. Adelaide stomped them by 11 goals. And then Geelong stomped them again. And they were at Optus against Geelong. But yeah, I'm going to go North Melbourne. I'm going to go North Melbourne by 4 goals. I think they get another win. I think West Coast definitely are bound for the wooden spoon. And North simply have to win this game to prove their worthiness of actually looking like they're building something. Because next year you are going to be expected to 100% lift out of that bottom 4, even out of that bottom 6, because it has been way too long. But yeah, give me North by 4 goals. The 2 inconsistent sides. I mean, Essendon aren't that inconsistent, to be fair. I mean, they do sit, 2 games clear? 2 games clear of the Blues with the same amount of games played, which is kind of crazy. I thought Essendon were screwed, but they actually looked decent. They looked really good against Brisbane. They've won 3 of their last 5. The only game they looked terrible in was to the rampaging Bulldogs who battered them. But Carlton have looked absolutely awful. They've lost 3 of their last 4. We lost a 10-goal loss to Adelaide. They beat St Kilda, which it's St Kilda. They lost to Sydney, who have been awful and sit 14th. And then, at Marvel to GWS, who were insanely out of form. They lost. Again, they lost. So, GWS heading into that game had a 6-goal loss nearly to Fremantle. And then they lost to Sydney 2 weeks before that loss. They weren't heading into the Blues game with any good form, and the Blues still lost. I don't think there is a safe place here, considering how inconsistent the both sides are, but Essendon are going to see this as a winnable game. And as crazy as it sounds because they have half their side out, respectfully, they had half their side out at the Gabba and put up a hell of a performance. In a winnable game against Carlton, who have been shite, and again, their finals hopes are practically over, I'm going to back Essendon. I feel like Carlton, you know, do have a lot more to fight for, given that if they do lose this game, it's likely the end of their season, and I would say the end of Michael Voss. But Essendon are in the same picture. I mean, they're closer to finals. They've actually got it more on their radar. And Brad Scott has got them playing, somewhat decently. I'm actually going to go Essendon by 2 points in this. I think it's going to be a ripper. It's going to be close. This could come back to bite me, kind of like the Sydney-Adelaide game. But I don't know. I feel something about Essendon. I feel like they could definitely pull something off here. They will probably get absolutely battered on, but this would be another one of those games because, well, my tipping's already done for the year. Let's be real. We have already smoked it in a bad way, I mean. But, if this could be a sneaky tip that I get right, within two inconsistent sides that you can just never read, I wouldn't mind it. So, yeah, give me the Bombers. King's birthday, Melbourne, Collingwood. Won't spend too much time on this one. Melbourne have been impressive over the last 6 weeks, really. But yeah, the St Kilda game, man, St Kilda just randomly play good. They just randomly came out and maybe kept their finals chances alive. But yeah, Collingwood are the best team in the league. They're not losing anytime soon. They can rest anyone against anyone. They're winning this game. I think they win it by 6 goals. It won't really be close, but it'll be a big crowd. Melbourne might show up and try fight their absolute hardest, but I think Collingwood are going to be too strong, and as they surge into that 100% clear premiership favourite, I think they're already premiership favourites, and I did call that in February in my preseason predictions as well. But yeah, give me Collingwood. This video is a bit longer. I do apologise with my rant of Hawthorn. I tried speeding up the other games, but there is a lot to talk about. But to recap, I'm going to go the Dogs, Adelaide to beat Brisbane. I'm going to go Sydney. I'm going to go Geelong, GWS, North Melbourne, Essendon. North Melbourne picking them to win is crazy. And Collingwood. And my 3 guarantees for this round are going to be the Dogs, Geelong, and the Pies. I think those are 3, they're definitely going to win. I don't want to hear any of this, bring the mouth guards to training, Hawthorn are going to show up. That's not how it works. Things like this don't just turn around like that, especially when we have expectations to perform on us. We need to respond, whereas last year we didn't really have any of that because we were still seen as a bottom tier side that just had a few good weeks of footy, but we turned it into something pretty special. So yeah, our final, we could be out of the 8s, and given my predictions, Hawthorn will be out of the top 8 by the end of the round. They will fall out on percentage to Fremantle as GWS rises above them, beating Port Adelaide. So yeah, that's scary. That is scary. But those are my round 13 tips. Let me know what you think. But yeah, get out of here.